Well, my singing did not make it onto the video. Okay, so to fix run-ons, you can make it 2 sentences. You can use a comma plus a conjunction. Conjunctions are words like and, but, or, nor, for, so, yet, things like that. Those can be put in, and you do that with a comma. You can also use a semicolon, and you can add words or phrases. Okay, that's how we fix run-on sentences. We either turn them into 2 sentences, we add a comma plus a conjunction, we add a semicolon, or we add a word or words or a phrase. Okay. All right, so the first one is D. Few fans attended the final game of the season because the team had lost every game prior to it. Okay? Everybody got that? On to number 2. Oops. Okay. Let's see what's going on with number 2. The family's dinner was interrupted when the storm hit, and all the power in the house went out for hours. The family's dinner was interrupted when the storm hit, and all the power in the house went out for hours. So, first of all, we have to decide, is that sentence correct, or is there something wrong with it? Tell me what you think. Anybody? The family's dinner was interrupted when the storm hit, comma, and all the power in the house went out for hours. No one, come on, people. Tell me what you think. Somebody hazard a guess. Charlotte says, you think it's good. Charlotte, you are correct. There is nothing wrong. Whoops. Okay. There is nothing wrong with this sentence. Put this over here. Okay? Because, yes, we have what's called 2 independent clauses. Right here, the family's dinner was interrupted when the storm hit. All the power in the house went out for hours. But look what they have. They have a comma and a conjunction. Okay? There is a comma and a conjunction, which makes this a good sentence. What did Cadence say? It sounds correct, but I could be wrong. Nope, you are right also, Cadence. This sentence is correct because of the comma and the conjunction, just like I said before. Okay? So there's no change. So everybody needs to mark this one as A. But it's exactly what I was talking about from the previous sentence. If these 2 things were not here, or the and wasn't here, or the comma wasn't there, there would be something wrong with it. It would be a run-on, like the previous sentence. But they have this one written correctly. Okay? So no change is needed. All right, moving on to number 3. Last Friday night, comma, my roommates and I decided that instead of going to the party, what do you think? Number 3. What's wrong with it? That sentence doesn't even sound right. Yeah, no, it is not right. What's wrong with it? Charlotte, what's wrong with it? You're unmuted.
Well, I just left it at, I decided that instead of going to the party, blank, and then it just ended in a period, it didn't explain at all.
That's right. What do we call that? It's not a run-on, but a sentence
fragment.
Fragment, yes. It is called a sentence fragment. They didn't complete it, okay? Those are sometimes easier to figure out And the run-ons are often easier to figure out too. You know there's something wrong with it. The difficult part becomes, how do I fix it? Okay? Most of you can identify that something is wrong with a sentence. I think we still struggle with, how do we fix that sentence? All right? So this is a fragment. A fragment means it's not complete. So we need to do something to complete it. So we know that A isn't our answer. Okay, so let's look at B. We didn't go to the party last Friday. We had too much homework to do. Well, that does give us a reason, but is it written correctly?
No.
No, it is not. They created a run-on. Okay, so B isn't the answer either. Okay, so let's look at C. Instead of going to the party last Friday night, my roommates and I decided to watch a movie. What do you think? Andrew thinks it's D. Okay. My roommates and I decided not to go to the party last Friday night, comma, we watched a movie instead. Okay. C or D, guys? Andrew votes for D. What about the rest of you? Zane says C. Cadence says, okay, Cadence says C. Madison says C. Actually, Andrew, they are correct. It is C. Here's what's wrong with D. It gave us the rest of it. It sounds good, but we made a run-on sentence here. They just put a comma. If they put a semicolon, it would work. But because they only put a comma and they didn't add a conjunction to it, it doesn't work. The correct answer here is C, okay? Do we see that? And this, instead of going to the party last night, I know this one has just a comma too, but this phrase, instead of, well, it's actually a clause, instead of going to the party last night, actually, it's not even a clause, it's a phrase. Instead of going to the party last night, comma, my roommates and I decided to watch a movie. Okay. This one, if we'd put a semicolon here, it would have been correct. But because they only had the comma without a conjunction, it isn't. So C is the answer for number 3. Okay, we got that one down? Okay, let's look at 4. Karen, comma, her car abandoned on the side of the highway during the snowstorm. What's wrong with it? Or is there anything wrong with it?
It's wrong with it.
What? There's something wrong with it? Yeah, there is. What is it?
There's a comma after Karen.
And
it didn't explain like why she abandoned her car.
Right. So again, it's a fragment. Okay, we have a fragment again. All right, so this is another sentence fragment. So we know A isn't right. Let's fix the fragment. Karen had to abandon her car on the side of the highway during the snowstorm. Okay. During the snowstorm on the car on the side of the highway, period. Karen abandoned it. Karen's car on the side of the highway, period. It was during a snowstorm. Which of those 3 is the correct way to fix it? Cadence says B. Zane says B. Yep. Yep. Okay. Yes, the correct answer is B. Now, guys, the comment by her right after her name would not be a problem if, I mean, we could have corrected the sentence by saying Karen, her car abandoned on the highway, on the side of the highway during the snowstorm, comma, had to walk several miles. We could have said that, and that would be fine. But that's not what they gave us as options. They said Karen had to abandon her car on the side of the highway during the snowstorm. Okay. Or we could have said Karen, comma, her car abandoned on the side of the highway during the snowstorm, comma, quickly found a ride. Okay, or something like that. Or found a ride with a plow in a snow plow truck. We could have said, so that would have been ways you could have fixed it also. Okay, so here's the key. There are many ways to fix fragments, and there are many ways to fix run-on sentences. All right, let's look at this one. Biology was my favorite subject in college, comma, it has allowed me to become a research scientist. Is this one correct or is it not? What do we think? Biology was my favorite subject in college, comma, it has allowed me to become a research scientist. Anyone? Okay, I'm going to tell you the problem. Because this is only a comma, we have two independent clauses here. Biology was my favorite subject in college. It has allowed me to become a research scientist. We have two independent clauses, meaning these are both, a clause has a subject and a verb, okay? Every sentence has to have at least one independent clause in it. It can have more than one, but it has to be joined correctly if you've got more than one independent clause. It means they can stand alone, okay? They could be two separate sentences. So to fix it, we could do a semicolon. We could do a period and add another and just turn the it, make it a capital I. We could keep the comma and add the conjunction and. Those are all ways we could fix it. Biology was my favorite subject in college, comma, and it has allowed me to become a research scientist. Or we could say, biology was my favorite subject in college, period. It has allowed me to become a research scientist, making it two separate sentences. So let's look at our possibilities here. Biology, comma, being my favorite subject in college, comma, it has allowed me to become a research scientist. Can we fix it? Oh, two of you are saying it's C. Yes, you are correct, because they just turned it into two sentences. Okay, this is the correct choice. All right. You could use this if you said biology being my favorite subject in college, take out the it, has allowed me to become a research scientist. Okay, you could do that way. It's still iffy, but it would work. My favorite subject in college was biology. It has allowed me to, so they just took out the comma, okay? So it is C. The easiest thing to do was to turn it into two sentences, okay? Everybody have that one? All right. Let's look at the next one or two. We do. Okay. Cheating on the exam during calculus and Lula was caught by the teacher. What's wrong with it?
Run on.
It's a run-on? Yes, it's just all wonky, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we fix it? We know it's not this. Let's look at your choices. The teacher caught Lula cheating on the exam. She thought it was difficult.
No.
No, it's a run-on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Lula, comma, cheating on her exam during calculus, period. She was caught by the teacher. Well, in this case, in C, you've got, they made two sentences, but the first one is a fragment. So C, you see this, Lula, comma, cheating on her exam during calculus. That's not a complete sentence. So this one isn't right. So we have to look at this. The teacher caught Lula cheating on the calculus exam. That's all we had to say. Okay. So D is 6. All right. We just had to flip the sentence around a little bit. Okay, number 7. Whitewater rafting in Costa Rica last summer with my family while on vacation. Anything wrong with it? What do you think?
Sounds like a runoff.
Kind of does. It's actually a fragment. Okay. Whitewater rafting in Costa Rica last summer with my family while on vacation. It's actually just a series of phrases. Okay. There's actually no subject and verb. Okay. So this is a sentence fragment. How do we fix it? Whitewater rafting and vacation with my family was fun because we were in Costa Rica. No. While on vacation with my family last summer in Costa Rica, comma, we went whitewater rafting.
Sounds good.
It does. In Costa Rica last summer with my family, period. Whitewater rafting on the most intense river was difficult. So it is. Which one is it then? We said it's not B. It's not D, guys. It is C. While on vacation with my family last summer in Costa Rica, we went whitewater rafting. Okay, now I want to point something out to you because I know I was talking about commas and clauses. This is an independent clause. Okay. This one is what we call a subordinate or dependent clause. So you can join it with just a comma, just to confuse things for you a little more. Because while on vacation with my family last summer in Costa Rica can't stand by itself, okay? We went whitewater rafting can stand by itself. That's the difference between a subordinate clause and an independent clause, okay? So, or dependent, we can call it that too. This is not a complete sentence on its own. It may have a subject and a verb in it, but this while on vacation turns it into a subordinate clause, okay? Do we kind of understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why we can put a comma in that one without a conjunction. All right, let's look at sentence number 8. Pepperoni pizza from the Italian restaurant in town is my favorite. The taste is authentic.
Runoff.
It's a run-on, yes. Okay, so how do we fix it? We've got my favorite pepperoni pizza is from the Italian restaurant in town because the taste is authentic. Zane says, oh wait, Zane, was that C for number 7? Or are you saying C for number 8? C for number 8 says the pizza is authentic from the Italian restaurant in town owned by Italians. My favorite is pepperoni. That's another run on. The authentic pizza from the Italian restaurant is my favorite. It's the pepperoni. Which is your best choice, guys?
B.
B, yes. They added the word because. Okay? So the correct answer is B. Simply by adding because the taste is authentic, you make it a complete sentence or not a run-on sentence. Okay? My favorite pepperoni pizza is from the Italian restaurant in town because the taste is authentic. Okay. All right. On to 9, 10. Oh, we'll just have to do 9 and 10. Okay. When Jeannie goes to concerts and finds herself dancing around, comma, singing to songs, comma, and having a great time. What do we think? Anything wrong with it?
It doesn't sound right.
Right. It's not complete. It's long, but it's a fragment. Okay? It's a longer sentence, but it's actually a fragment. Okay? So we have to figure out how to fix it. Let's look at B. When Jeannie goes to concerts, semicolon, she finds herself dancing around, comma, singing to songs, comma, and having a great time.
Yeah. Okay.
The wording is good, but is the punctuation? Let's look at C. Same wording, but the punctuation is slightly different. When Janine, I said Jeannie, it's Janine. When Janine goes to concerts, comma, she finds herself dancing around, comma, singing the songs, comma, and having a great time. Or we've got the last one. When Janine, comma, who goes to concerts, comma, and finds herself dancing around, comma, singing songs and having a great time. You know what? They turned this one still into a fragment. Okay, so it's between B and C, and it's all a matter of this. Okay? We have to decide which is the right punctuation. Should we have a semicolon there or should we have a comma there? Andrew says B.
C.
Madison says C. Was that Madison or Charlotte?
Me.
That was Charlotte. Okay, sorry. Anybody else want to weigh in? No one else wants to hazard a guess. Charlotte is correct. In this case, it's simply a comma. Here's what's going on. When Jeannie goes to concerts is not it's not an independent clause. It's a subordinate clause. So having a comma there is the proper way to punctuate it. Okay? If this had been if they left the when off and said, just started with Janine goes to concerts, semicolon, she finds herself dancing around, singing the song, and so forth, but they didn't. So this is the correct answer, okay? The wording is exactly the same. It's the punctuation in this case that we have to look at, how they fixed it. And because this is a dependent or subordinate clause, the comma is correct, okay? All right. Renee's 5-year-old son threw a tantrum at his birthday party. He hated the ice cream cake she had bought for him.
Change it.
Yep, we have to change it. It's a run-on. Okay, so how do we fix it? Renee's 5-year-old son, comma, who threw a big tantrum at his birthday, comma, because he hated the ice cream cake she had bought for him.
No.
No, they made that a run or a fragment. C, Renee's 5-year-old son threw a tantrum at a birthday party because he hated the ice cream cake she had bought for him. Let's look at D. Renee's 5-year-old son threw a tantrum at his birthday party. He hated the ice cream cake, comma, which she had bought for him. So, C or D, guys?
C.
C, yes. C is correct. Here, all they did was add the word because. Okay? And that's all we need. All right. We have 5 left. Number 11. In a rush, Carl ran down the hill, comma, jumped the creek, comma, and raced up the porch steps. He had to make it home before curfew. What do we have? Is it correct, or is there something wrong?
I mean, it could be shorter, but.
Well, okay. Here's the problem right here. In a rush, Carl ran down the hill, jumped the creek, and raced up the porch steps. He had to make it home before curfew. Right there, going from steps to he without any kind of punctuation makes it a run-on sentence. Okay? So this is our first independent clause. And then this right here is our second independent clause. Okay? So how do we fix it? Well, we said with 2 independent clauses, we can turn it into 2 sentences. We can add a word like because, or we can put in a semicolon and or we can put in a comma and a conjunction. Okay? Those are the ways we can fix it. In a rush, comma, Carl ran down the hill, comma, jumped the creek, comma, and raced up the porch steps in order to make it home before curfew. C, Carl had to make it home before curfew, comma, in a rush, comma, he ran down the hill, comma, jumped the creek, comma, and raced up the porch. Or D, Carl, comma, in a rush, comma, ran down the hill, comma, jumped the creek, comma, and raced up the porch steps, comma, he had to make it home before curfew. So which one makes it okay to have those? Which one combines the 2 independent clauses the best way, the correct way, or one of the correct ways? What do we think? Andrew says B. In a rush, Carl ran down the hill, jumped the creek, and raced up the porch steps in order to make it home before curfew. What about the rest of you? Andrew has weighed in with B. No one's going to hazard a guess?
I picked B for like the last 2. Not this one.
Oh, not this one. Oh, I'm sorry. Andrew, pick B for this one. Because B is correct. All right. So pick B. Okay.
Oh yeah, just kidding. I picked B the whole time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Of course, Andrew. I knew you did. All right. So here's what they did. They took, he had to make it home before curfew and just changed it to in order to make it home before curfew. And changing those 2 words instead of saying he had, saying in order, it's good. It's a good sentence. You don't even have to add any punctuation to it. And raced up the porch steps in order to make it home before curfew. Okay? So it's a good way to fix it. All right, let's get number 12. Grace didn't realize that joining the choir and singing during the concert would strain her vocal cords, comma, resulting in a raspy voice. Anything wrong with it? What do we think? Is there anything wrong with that sentence? Grace didn't realize that joining the choir and singing during the concert would strain her vocal cords, comma, resulting in a raspy voice. Is it good? Is it bad? What do you think?
I think it's good.
You are correct. It is good. No changes needed in this sentence. Okay? Right here, we need the comma. It's resulting in a raspy voice. It's not, it's a phrase, but it's a one that you need that break there. Okay? All right. 13, I don't think we can get 50. Oh, we can. Okay. All right. 13, we're almost done. As the server was carrying the large steaming plates of spaghetti and ravioli through the crowded restaurant.
Oh my God.
What is it? There's something wrong. What's wrong? As the server was carrying the large steaming plates of spaghetti and ravioli through the crowded restaurant. Anyone? It's a fragment. Okay. So there are lots of ways to fix it. We could just take off the as and say the server was carrying the large steaming plates of spaghetti and ravioli through the crowded restaurant. Or we could leave the as and we could add something to the end of it to make it a complete sentence. Okay? So here are your options. We know there's no change is wrong. Meanwhile, comma, the server was carrying the large steaming plates of spaghetti and ravioli through the crowded restaurant. He tripped.
No.
No. Now, if you added he tripped to the original sentence, that would work. As the server was carrying the large steaming plates of spaghetti and ravioli through the crowded restaurant, comma, he tripped. But they didn't do that. They took meanwhile, and they put meanwhile there. All right, the server was carrying the large steaming plates of spaghetti and ravioli through the crowded restaurant. Oh, that's what I did up there, isn't it? So we know. C, I didn't look at your answer choices. Okay. C, guys, is your correct answer. Because they simply took off the as. I think it would have been more fun if he had tripped, but
Yeah.
that's just me. All right, let's look at 14. The weather at the beach was perfect, comma, and the waves were ideal for surfing, comma, so we decided to stay all day. Is there anything wrong with it? What do we think? The weather at the beach was perfect and the waves were ideal for surfing, so we decided to stay all day. Anybody? Are you having difficulty? You know why? Because there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good sentence. The commas are all in the correct places. There are no run-ons, no fragments. It's a complete thought. Okay, last one. The smartphone, comma, which could be hooked up to either a tablet or a personal computer. What's wrong with it? The thought isn't complete, is it?
No.
No. So it is a fragment. It is a fragment because of this. Okay? that makes it a fragment. So let's look at your options. Allowing the smartphone to be hooked up to either a tablet or a personal computer. This is also a fragment. Okay. One type of smartphone, comma, which can be hooked up to either a tablet or a personal computer. Is that a complete sentence either? It is not. Our only option is D. The smartphone, comma, which could be hooked up to either a tablet or a personal computer, comma, costs too much. Okay? So they left the which and they just completed it. All right? This one, if we had taken this out, we could have said the smartphone could be hooked up to either a tablet or a personal computer. They changed it differently. They left the which and added that it costs too much. Okay? So your correct answer for number 15 is D. Okay?
But I don't understand that one.
You don't understand. Okay. What don't you understand?
So, okay, so for our answer is number D, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so it added on cost too much from the previous question when the spaghetti one, it said he tripped.
Right.
Like, how is that one not right?
Oh, that could, okay. So they did that. What made that one with he tripped on the end of it wrong isn't the fact that they added he tripped. It was the fact that they put meanwhile there instead of as. Okay. It wasn't that he tripped that made it be the wrong answer. It was the fact that they replaced as with meanwhile. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. They could have said, as the server was carrying the large steaming plates of spaghetti and ravioli through the crowded restaurant, comma, he tripped, and that would have been correct. But putting meanwhile there instead made that choice wrong. The SAT is tricky like that. Okay? So they're going to, on this part of the test, they will give you options that part of it would be a good way to correct it. But you have to make sure that they didn't change anything else that then makes it wrong. That's the tricky part about the SAT. Okay? And also with fragments and run-ons, there are a lot of different options for correcting them. So you have to pick out, there's going to be one that's correct, but they're also going to give you answer choices that are close. Okay? Unfortunately, they're going to give you answer choices that are close, and you're going to think, well, it's got this here. Yeah, but they did this instead somewhere else. Okay? That's why. And this is why we're practicing them now when you're freshmen. So by the time, well, you'll have to take the PSAT next year as sophomores in the fall. But then your junior year, you'll take the SAT. And we want to try, you know, we're trying to give you a couple years here of practice with it. Okay? Yeah, I do want you to turn this in. Okay? Everybody got all the answers down?
Yeah.
Okay. It is almost time to go. All right. Sorry we didn't have any time for you to work on your projects, but I will give you tomorrow and Friday to work. And then they are due Monday. Okay? I know some of you may be finished or just about finished with them.
I'm about finished.
Okay. All right. Is anyone completely finished?
I just need a picture for my metaphor and then I'll be done.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Well, guys, you are done for the day. You are free to leave. I'm going to stop the recording. that I almost forgot to start.